Coming to, again, the reality is the fact that the stomach infrastructure in code is probably working politically at some point. You didn't think that you should probably have done a bit of stomach infrastructure and do a bit of physical or infrastructure in the real sense of it?
Shehu, I challenge anybody in this state to actually do an assessment of what they call stomach infrastructure. I have done more stomach infrastructure than any previous government in the state. The 25,000 people who got 5,000 naira every month as social security benefit as senior citizens, what do you call that? Fiscal infrastructure? The youth volunteers who get 10,000 naira every month, what's that? Fiscal infrastructure? I mean, it's a very, very dubious argument, and one used by those who knew what they did with the manipulation of the election to justify their action. It's arrant nonsense, because this government spent as much as we did on ordinary people directly as we did with physical infrastructure. This is the state that has the best paid teachers in this country. What's that? That's not stomach infrastructure. This is the only state that pays teachers, apart from the fact that we have increased minimum wage. As relatively poor as our state is, we also pay core teachers allowance, we pay rural teachers allowance, we pay teachers peculiar allowance. So teachers in Ekiti earn almost 50% the normal basic salary. And this applies across the board. Civil servants, they've had 3 increases in salary since I became governor, which they never had when previous governors were in office. So when I hear these arguments, I think it's a very spurious, a very, very fickle argument that I also think journalists should investigate deeper. What they mean by stomach infrastructure that Fayemi do not abhors, and which many people know that I would never partake in. I am not going to go out on the street and start distributing 200 naira because I want some people to hail me Babayere Babake. I don't come from that school of politics, because it does not really add value to my people. It diminishes their self-esteem, it diminishes their sense of self-worth. It really, really denigrates what politics ought to be about, even as despicable as it has become in our climb. I don't subscribe to that, because when people do that, it's very easy for me to go out there, out of Ekiti 3 billion average monthly income, I can go out there, Shehu, distribute 500,000 amongst street urchins, and then everybody say, Gomino Rere, Gomina Agba, and all those epithets. You would hear that. But when I throw 500,000 to you, and I pocket 2 billion naira of your money and stash it in my private account, is that what people want? Every single earning that this state got when I was in office can be accounted for in one form or another. It's not an accident that I've been commissioning all these projects. People should ask themselves, where did the money come from? It's not my money suddenly that I've been spending. So it must be the state money in one form or another.
What would you say then is the cause of your loss at the election?
Well, Professor Shoyinka described it as a mystery. That mystery will be unraveled sooner rather than later.
When you say mystery, what does it mean?
What does it mean? It means precisely what you have asked. Naturally, in politics or in good governance, there ought to be a direct correlation between performance in office and reward by the electorate. It's almost teleological that when you perform, it translates into concrete acceptance by your people. So when there's a break in that chain, something clearly must have gone wrong.
Does it mean that?
And there are a number of things that might have gone wrong. I don't want to get into that discussion now, but it could be anything. It could even be communication. You could say, some people have said, oh, Fayemi is way ahead of his people, or he's brought all these ideas from his foreign endeavors, and he wanted to directly impact on his people, and he's too much in a hurry, and the people are not at that stage. So he ought to have been more gradual in his approach. Again, it's 2020 vision that we're dealing with, which is what hindsight is. I know that the story of the election would be unraveled, and people would see very soon what that is.
Okay, you're saying that there's a mystery behind the results of the elections?
Obviously.
Interested. I mean, at this point, you're leaving a tier of government that is basically of your party, the legislature. At this point, are you confident that somehow, of course, the executive is no more belonging to will not longer be run by your party, APC. It's going to be run by the PDP. Do you still have that feeling that the APC has some stake in this state?
Oh, absolutely. This is an APC state. We'd always have a stake.
But are we going to be seeing an APC breathing down the necks of the PDP in these next 4 years?
It's not probably going to be a PDP APC issue. It's going to be about the interest of Ekiti people. If the governor is on the side of the people, he probably would not have a problem with the honorable members, because they also have the people to report to account to. But if he runs a government that flies in the face of logic and development and accountability and transparency, of course, it's the duty of the House as the oversight agency of government to hold the government accountable.
Do you see yourself coming back to the governor's house in Ekiti State?
Do I see myself coming back to the government's house in Ekiti State? That's an interesting question. I am not in court. I have not challenged the election. Well, my party is in court. I'm a product of the party, and that is actually the way the Electoral Act is actually promulgated and passed into law. So my party has every right to be in court. We'll wait for the outcome of that before dealing with your issues. I am on an assignment. I am not an ambitious politician in that sense. Everything I've done as a duty, not in any selfish pursuit of personal aggrandizement. That's not my politics. My politics is politics of service, of honor, of integrity.
But if God gives you the opportunity today or tomorrow morning to be the governor of Ekiti State again, would you take that offer?
I will cross that bridge when I get there.
Well, I mean, I'm asking you now, if I were God and I'm asking you, Governor Fayemi,
no, you're not God, Sheil.
I'm just saying.
So that's an hypothetical.
Yeah. So I put it to you, sir. If you are given the opportunity to be a governor again in Ekiti State, would you accept that offer?
It's a duty. For me, public service is the highest form of duty that any citizen can render to society. So I've never seen this in any other way. Everything I've done is about service to community, service to my people, service to my God. And if that's how God wants it, well, I'm going to have to take the step that I feel is entirely appropriate with that mission.
Do you have unfinished business at the government's house?
Do I have unfinished business? Governance anywhere is a continuum. There are things that I would have loved to complete. There are things I would have loved to also do. I had an agenda for the second term if I were to be in office.
Well, that's it. The conversation with former Governor Kayode Fayemi, trying to put him on a hot seat, asking him questions about his performance. But we're still expecting to speak with the new Governor of Ekiti State, Mr. Kayode Fayemi, who is no stranger to the government house. But would I say to the old government house, he's just moved into a new government house. We hope that it will honor our invitation to speak to Nigerians and the people of Ekiti State, what he has in stock for them and what he wants to do differently this time around. He will only not be judged by what he has done in the past, what he will be doing now, but of course his performances will be judged and weighed side by side with that of his predecessor. We go on a short break, and when we return, there is a term called Go On With One Nation. You're familiar with it. You're familiar with the Nigerian Civil War. You're familiar with the coup of 1966. A lot of issues in Nigeria's history and politics. What has become of it and what is happening? We discuss these even more on the Ekiti issue. Join us again.